by stage. We did her pre-observation, about 5 to 6 students from her homeroom class, and they were very sweet. They love you. They all said how helpful you are and that you give just on-the-spot support when needed. They just were very appreciative of your efforts, and they noticed it.
That's sweet.
One student said her teaching style works for me, and then one said your warm personality they really like.
I'm glad they think that. Okay,
right. And they notice it and they're feeling it, which is great. Time on task. Students. Student A was the one in the red sweatshirt. And I watched him for the whole lesson, and he was about 76% on task, where student B had more of your attention, but he was 55% of the time on task. And I saw that you did your watch your students reflection, and I would agree that about on a scale of 1 to 7, 5, they were 90% engaged. There wasn't any reason why they shouldn't be, because limited distractions, small room, and they of course interacted respectfully. They were very cute with, I think, each other. They're so different personalities, but
very
it was interesting to watch them interact, even with this like little nuances every now and then. Students talked about learning an appropriate amount of time. I would say student A in the red sweatshirt did. Student B, he was swooping in there. You were really good about when he was trying to get more out of you and trying to get you both off task, and you knew how to redirect you really well. Rarely they interrupted each other, which is good in especially a small group setting. Only it was funny because it was dismissal, and I know they were
that's why I was like, I'm really proud of how long they stayed with me because of how late in the day it was, and
for sure.
And what kind of like I know those students pretty well, and I was proud of how they stayed with me at that time.
For sure. And then I would say yes, a 4 engage in a high level conversation, in the sense that one was working by himself doing corrections, so he wouldn't have been in a big conversation, where the other student who does love to talk, he was, but I think he was trying to get out of it. But he also really, you could see on his face when he said, did I do bad on my test, that he, I think, did want to know what was wrong, which you explained completely, and you knew what he did wrong because he just went too fast. But I think he was trying to initiate a deeper conversation that you know how to handle, that he would have gone on more tangents and dig a little too deep, but you handled it just fine. And then students were clearly understanding, I think, how they were progressing or not progressing, in the sense they were correcting themselves. You were having them redo things, explain their thinking of why something was wrong. So I believe they could figure out easily how well they were doing, and they were interested in the activities wholeheartedly. Even like you said, the end of the day, announcements are going on.
Yeah.
There were a lot of voices, and they were interested. They were motivated to correct.
They were.
I'm gonna let you, if there's any.
I'm gonna say, and that student with the red jacket was working on something different than what the other student was, and for him to work on the assignment that he was working on independently, I was proud, because that's kind of some of the, since it's mixed standards and mixed materials, there's 20 questions, like for him to like pick and choose the ones that he could do, and then he asked me for one, like when I had time to help him, like when I switched, I was happy that he was able to do that.
For sure. Now we'll move to the questioning part. That's how would you rank your lesson? And you can also split it in like lesson with student A and then lesson with student B.
I would say probably a 5. Like that wasn't my worst, but that wasn't my best. It was the end of the day. We were all tired. And it was kind of just a little, like, not catch up, but like, you're going to fix your mistakes. We're going to work on what you need, more than like I guess like a scripted lesson, not scripted, but like a normal one throughout the day for learning information.
I was gonna say, I think with student A, who was more independent, it was probably more of a 5 because, like you
Yeah.
said, that was also their time too. It wasn't
Yeah.
wasn't like a whole group specific skill lesson. But I think student B, I think that would have been a 7 or 8 because that worked so well with him.
Yeah.
Changing the role of you are the teacher now, and that, I mean, he just was so engaged with that. He didn't disassociate or anything.
Yeah.
And then number 2, what pleased you about the lesson?
Getting student B, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Student B to complete a full multiplication problem, showing me the work and like talking out
Sure.
the steps, because the reason why he was redoing the test was because he didn't show any work and
Right.
he missed them. I think just getting that, and then also seeing how independent the other student was, because normally that student stays at my table a lot and asks me for a lot of questions. So seeing him able to work by himself, that was good to see too.
Sure. And then what would you have done to move the lesson closer to a 10?
Probably put more planning into it a little bit. And maybe do it at a different time of the day.
Sure.
Do it in the morning. I feel like both of those students are morning students instead of afternoon.
Anything else?
No.
For number 4, what would your students be doing differently if your class, a small group, was a 10? Which kind of goes with this question before then.
I think it would have been a lot better if they were all doing the same thing instead of different things.
Okay.
I think like differentiating and making sure that each student has like what they need is important, but also for like instruction or making it a 10, I think it would have been easier to reach all of them if they were all doing the same thing.
And then for number 5, sorry about the printer.
Oh no, it's fine.
Tell me more about what would that look like. So I guess for them doing the same thing, different levels, of course, how would you go about that?
Like student A, I would still probably do the like teach me method, and then if I had other students in there, I would probably get them to use the like whiteboards and solve it, and then once they were done, like flip it to me, let me check it, and then go back to what they were doing. So then I was giving a little bit more time to all like the other student.
Okay, more of a balance there.
Yeah, because I felt like it was like 80-20 between the two.
Sure. And then so going like how you just said, more balance, how would we measure that?
I guess maybe try and get all of them above like 70% on task, like, because one of them was like 55, he said. Like just making sure that they're all getting the same amount of attention and completing the same time. I don't know how to.
Should we have that be your goal, like a time on task goal based on students?
You can do that.
If you could hit that goal, what would it really what would matter to you?
I guess making sure that my main goal is making sure that I'm helping them the most, and like they're achieving their goals or achieving mastery.
The teaching strategy you could use to hit your goal.
I might even like do like a set a timer, like I have 5 minutes with you, and then I'm gonna have 5 minutes with you, and then I'm gonna have 5 minutes with you.
Timer, that makes sense.
Because sometimes I can lose track of time when you're working with someone, so all of a sudden I'm like 15 minutes with this student, and I'll have like 5 minutes with another.
Right. Then I think with number 10, what are the next steps? I think that goes right into our goal. So I think you're exactly right that it'd be an on-task student goal during a small group lesson. Let's do 4 to 6. So then easy, I think on-task goal is easy to understand. We're comparing when students are working with you in that small group, watching them, are they on task? All students being at least, let's say, 80% on task.
Yeah.
A strategy. I think it could be for a small group instruction, on task goal, using a timer, almost with you're working with the first student. It's like maybe 4, depending on how many minutes you have, 4 minutes. You're working with them. You might even finish ahead of time, which is fine, but it goes off and then you switch over to the next student and you almost rotate throughout. And